My name is Rosanna Wilkinson and I am the researcher for the Saving Lives exhibition, which is opening this week. The title of the exhibition is Saving Lives, Frontline Medicine in a Century of Conflict, and we are really looking at sort of the creativity of medicine and medicine's destruction of war, really, and looking at the sort of terrible impact of war on the mind and the body, and we're sort of telling it through some really kind of remarkable and inspiring personal stories from the First World War to the present day. And in many ways, war has really acted as a catalyst for developments, medical developments, and we're also exploring sort of some of the key medical developments that we take for granted today, such as penicillin and X-rays, plastic surgery. These were all really pioneered and refined in times of war, and that's something that we sort of explore through these stories and really bring to life. As you enter the exhibition, you come in through a recreated Chinook helicopter, so you hear the thunder of rotor blades as you come in, which is really quite dramatic, and you then move into the first section, which really begins with the preparations that soldiers and medics make before they're deployed on active service, both sort of mentally and physically. And then as we continue through the exhibition, it's really tracing sort of the route that a casualty would take through the evacuation chain. So we move into sort of looking at battlefield injuries and first aid, before moving on to looking at sort of the calmer surroundings of field hospitals, where sort of more specialised treatment can take place. And then moving on to look at rehabilitation and back in the UK and the journey home for further treatment. We've got some really interesting personal stories featured in the exhibition. One of them is a story about somebody called Lance Corporal Charles Frampton, who was in the Middlesex Regiment during the First World War, and he was injured by shrapnel in August 1917 and was wounded in the thigh. He underwent treatment, surgery, and at first it looked as if he was going to make a full recovery. He undertook, while he was convalescing, some needlework, embroidered bag that he made, which we have on display. But sadly, an infection was discovered in his wounds, and unfortunately he died on the 19th of August, and he was only 23 years old. He was buried in France, and then his belongings were sent back to his family, and we have his wallet that was sent home to his sister and a letter written by the doctor explaining what happened to him. And it's quite a tragic story, but what's interesting about it is if he had perhaps received that wound during the Second World War, it's likely that he may well have survived, because key developments such as penicillin and the mass manufacture of penicillin used to treat wound infection, and also improvements in surgical techniques generally, would have meant that he could have survived. And that's sort of one of the interesting features of the exhibition. We're really looking at some of the key developments over the last 100 years.